Hi guys, it's SkintBoot here, and today what I'm going to be bringing you guys is a No Man's Sky video. And in today's video, what I am over the moon to bring you guys is a fairly short and brief video looking into my first impressions of the big next update that has finally been released. So I've spent a fair amount of time with this update. I will admit it's actually hard to break away from it to record a video, so I'm kind of getting withdrawals right now, which shows how fucking good it is. But this video is very much brief. I'm not going to be touching on every single fine detail which blew me away, but rather a kind of general sum up, looking into some of the things which I absolutely love, some of the things which I might not like as much, and so forth. Like a very kind of general review. I will do a more in-depth review very soon, so please stick around for that. But without further ado, please do sit back and relax. Let's get started. Alright, so first of all, Next just revamps No Man's Sky completely. From the very first trailer, we knew that this update would change No Man's Sky forever, and it most definitely does this. In fact, Next changes so much more than people were expecting, like elements, the story, generation, and just so much more. I instantly noticed just how different the game not only looked, but felt. Third person immediately felt natural, and the animations looked like they had always been there. The improved movement system that allows for little things like sliding down hills just creates this organic feeling to the game that wasn't previously felt. Base building as well feels less awkward and less like you're constantly fighting with it. Objects snap cleanly and everything is organized where it should be. Not to mention the boundaries for buildings have been near enough gutted to leave you infinite possibilities that don't fuck around with your plans. I guess you could argue that the overall clunkiness of No Man's Sky has been removed, or at least refined. Things feel much more seamless. The quality of life improvements have definitely worked with things like buying and selling in space stations, where everything can be done with a single button prompt instead of wading through different button combinations and scrolling and all of this shit. The updated UI and menu selection screens are also much more slick and modern, adding to the general vibe of this update, really bringing No Man's Sky into 2018. This is even further emphasized by the insane graphic overhaul that makes clouds, water, and generation so much nicer to look at. Oh, and buildings as well. Buildings look fucking incredible. Clouds are just fit. Like, they are what they are. We all knew from the trailer that they were going to be very moist. They're not quite as good as the trailer. Some users have complained that on the original PS4 and the original Xbox, they do look a bit pixely, a bit too kind of pre-Next, but apparently there is a patch coming out very soon which sort of puts them up to the trailer standards, so that'll be really nice. Water as well is more reflective. It has that kind of blue pre-release tint to it, which is absolutely beautiful, and it looks less foamy, like someone has spunked in the ocean. The generation has also been touched up really nicely, and I don't quite know what they've done, but mountains just seem to look so much better. They don't seem as kind of awkward, like they're not supposed to be there. They kind of feel organic. They look a lot better. Honestly, I don't know what they've done, but the generation is just impressive. I also very much enjoyed the smaller touches, like the added effects when your ship is landing, you know, like the dust kind of kicking up off the ground, and how you have a shadow in first person. You know, little things like this just help immersion a shit ton. I also love, and I say love with so much passion, because planets are now so much more accurate from space. This is something which I've always talked about in my videos. If you have watched my kind of pre-release cut content videos, then you'll know that I'm really big on this whole aspect of seeing planetary features from space instead of having some kind of weird placeholder texture where a planet is pink, but when you go down it's like a forest planet or something random like that. They don't match up. And Next has actually changed this for the better. It's not quite sort of trailer standards which we expected, where every single thing is completely accurate. But if you see a planet that is grey and looks lifeless, when you go down to it, the planet will be grey and lifeless. This is one of the best additions in my opinion. It's fairly small, but it has so much of an effect on gameplay. It's insane. The game is still essentially No Man's Sky. It is what we all loved. It still has the exploration, it still has the crafting, it still has the base building, but it is just entirely overhauled. However, this isn't to say the game is any more welcoming than it was at launch. In fact, Next changes everything. Next changes elements completely. Things like thamium and plutonium are either renamed or completely repurposed. Crafting is much more complex, with whole different items which require new elements, and repairing ships or refueling is nowhere near as easy as before. Jumping into Next feels like jumping into a new game. It almost feels like No Man's Sky, the sequel. This isn't the No Man's Sky that you remembered, and this creates a weird combination of different emotions. Initially, I felt almost frustrated at the complexity of everything and somewhat overwhelmed by all of these new elements with their fancy names and shit. Like not being able to refuel launch thrusters with plutonium because plutonium doesn't exist anymore is just fucking weird. It takes a good amount of time to get used to it. I actually started to feel somewhat nostalgic when I saw old blueprints for things like hyperdrive. It's weird. I can't explain it, but I kind of miss how it used to be. Maybe because it's just such a huge change, it simply takes time. And honestly, I am starting to get more into it, but let me just say it is a massive shock for the first time. Also, if you're one of those people that like to play on permadeath and you haven't played Next at all, I would recommend playing normal right off the bat, because things are going to be so confusing for you. You need to work it out before you jump into the sweatier game modes. And I have also started to notice what some people have picked up upon in the way they say that Next kind of ramps up the grind even more. Now, this is largely due to the complexity of crafting and changes to what creates what, but for some people this isn't a welcomed change. For example, charging your launch thrusters pre-Next would simply require plutonium. You mine some red crystals and you charge it straight through the raw materials, you know, simple as. However, in Next, you either need uranium, which by the way you can't pick up without a special glove, or you have to create launch thruster fuel, which consists of the little blue crystals, I forget the name, and a carite sheet. So you need dust or iron to create the carite sheet, and then these blue crystals to create just one capsule. I get where Hello Games were coming from with these changes. You know, they wanted to make crafting seem more meaningful and more deep, and I do appreciate how they have done that. The game isn't a walk in the park anymore, and actually requires you to spend a load of time on planets finding resources. I do understand why they got rid of the whole plutonium gimmick, because to be fair, you could just hoard plutonium and never feel like you're ever gonna run out of fuel or you're gonna be stranded. This does create a kind of more survival feel to it, because getting fuel is actually pretty fucking hard, and initially this is difficult to get used to, but eventually I think a lot of people will actually come to appreciate it. But it still stands. If you're someone who hated the resource grind in No Man's Sky, you know, that grind everyone complained about at launch, then chances are Next won't do much to change your opinion. It's more of the same. In fact, the grind is arguably worse, but it's just more deep. It's not as boring, it's not as linear, and I personally like that, but some other people might not. But the one big thing which I did very much appreciate with Next was the new start of the game and the new flow of the story. Now, I'm not too far into the story yet, and to be honest, I've never really kind of shagged the story in No Man's Sky, but from what I've heard, Hello Games have basically pushed the story forward. So you can build a base earlier and you can own a freighter earlier on. I have my base already. You can see it here. It's such a beautiful E3 style overgrown planet, and this is what I wanted all along. I never owned a freighter in No Man's Sky because I never enjoyed the grind all that much or wanted to get this big fat farm on the go. Bringing it forward is something I for one welcome, and I think a lot of others do this as well. It keeps you more interested. interested, and it also doesn't allow for kind of splits in the community where you get the rich fuckers at the top with their massive freighters and stuff, and the peasants down here still mining emerald or whatever. And I like that. That's nice. But of course, some people won't overly appreciate this. They might think that the whole kind of reward of getting a freighter, you know, grinding for it, spending countless nights on their little farms picking their fucking buds or whatever. Some people won't like it. They think that the challenge is gone, but personally, I really do like it. But in summary, was Next worth the wait? Did it live up to my expectations as the revival of No Man's Sky? Yes. Plain and simple, yes. The update is honestly huge. It's so fucking massive. I can't even make a patch note reading on it. And I wanted to do that. It's a tradition. I've done that every single update. If you have No Man's Sky currently, play it right now. If you don't own No Man's Sky yet, it's on sale on Steam for about £20, which is 50% off. So fucking buy it. This is probably the cheapest it will ever be. This isn't the No Man's Sky we all remembered. This is something completely new. So thank you very much for taking the time out of your day to watch this video. Let me know what you guys think on Next in the comment section. If you enjoyed the video, then be sure to leave a like on it, and if you guys could also subscribe to MZK, then that'd be absolutely fantastic. And as always, I will see you guys on my next video. This is SkintBoot signing out.